easy. Easy as 1, 2, 3. So there's a certain topic that I wanted to discuss that I know a lot of individuals will be able to take and relate it into their own lives. And that is, growth scares people who don't want to change. Let it sink in. Growth scares people who don't want to change. Before I even came on board with a mucusless diet, before I started speaking on spirituality, speaking on the mental states and emotional states, speaking on life in general, my thought process was nothing like how I am now. I was a typical male, ego-driven, sex-driven, money-driven. That was normal. Having anger was normal. Taking medication was normal. Living a lifestyle that is self-destructive, that was normal. No different from anybody else, because we all grew up in this same society that has programmed us to be this way. Because of that, it's been challenging, to say the least, on escaping that. It's almost like overwhelming to process all of this again, because you live a certain way, you think a certain way, your behavior is a certain way, your environment influences that. But it doesn't mean you can't change. It doesn't mean you can't alter. It doesn't mean you can't readjust or realign yourself. And I discovered that. Going through my changes, I was suffering. I was in pain in all of my bodies. So I was led to that. Suffering led me to these changes. Just like it will lead everybody else if you suffer enough. Because your inner self will tell you, it'll give you signs, it'll give you signals. We're just too doped in the head and in the spirit to comprehend it. We pulled away from nature, we pulled away from source, and we're lost. But suffering will take you back, or it'll take you out. One of the two. That's your decision. And I was at that point where I was ready to just check out. This shit was way too much. It was But I found Dr. Morse. I found Arnold Ehret. I spent a lot of time invested into re-educating my mind. Just for the health perspectives. But this is the part that a lot of people don't get, is that you start correcting your health, your mind is going to change. Your perception of reality is going to alter. You're going to feel more connected to everything else. So you start experiencing all these things and changing and modifying things in your life. it's like it's gonna happen whether you are putting thought into this or not. And that's what is not understood by individuals who haven't gone through this process. It doesn't mean you're trying to be better than anybody else. It just means that you're conscious of taking care of yourself. So that saying, growth scares people who don't want to grow. So now you're put in a situation where everybody around you they stop growing. They're in a complacent state with their lives that's not aligned with the higher self. Because I'm not talking about a job title. I'm not talking about how much money you make. This is far more complex than that. Because we all have purpose and value. Your job title doesn't signify your value. All right. I want to put this together now, because you start to grow, you start to take care of yourself, all of a sudden everybody's got something to say. All of a sudden somebody's got something to say. Doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter where you're at in your life. If you start making changes for yourself and stepping the opposite direction of the herd, it's going to cause friction. That's not your fault. That's not anybody's fault. But you got to be able to go through it. You got to be able to deal with the people that are going to have something to say, that are going to be offended, that are going to question and give you a hard time about everything that you're doing. You may get betrayal. You may lose relationships. It's all right. Everybody's purpose is going to be fulfilled, whether it be in this lifetime or the next. We're all going to get it at some point. It just may not be now. You got to live in your own light above anything else. So going through all these changes, if somebody's going to talk down upon me, my mind processes it and then it leaves and it's gone. It's like a shredder. I got a goddamn mind shredder. If something goes in that is not of value, let it go. Don't let it change and alter you anymore. It doesn't matter who the person is or what they've done. All that's irrelevant. Your mind's got to get that strong. And then you realize and you start connecting with yourself. So you start experiencing these emotions and these energies. You can feel them, you can see them. I mean, it's really not physical. But you got to be in touch with that to experience it. It's crazy to see so much hate and so much anger in people, and they not think that it has no effect on them. That's crazy. It's crazy to think about. It's crazy to think that at some point that's where I also was. So I have no judgment. I have no say in any person's life, but I will give my own experiences, interpretations, because I know that we all experience life with the same emotions, with the same sensories. So we do know how one another feels on a very deep level. I know what suffering feels like, and if you've suffered too, you know what it feels like also. You could change that. Your negative emotions, your thought processes, you could change all that shit. Doesn't mean you have to be some guru or some saint living on a mountain. It's your mental states. That's important. Stick to your growth, though. That's the message right here. Stick to your growth. Don't worry if nobody supports you. If they don't support you, call me up and I'll support you. We gotta stick together, and we gotta grow. And little by little, it'll make others start to grow. Whether they want to admit it or not, it's okay. It don't matter. Just worry about your own. Take care of yourself. Love and be honest with yourself.